Okay, today I am going to be reviewing these in order from shortest to tallest because I have taken Marie Kondo way too far. Up and to the right. Alright, the first one we have, actually this is like perfectly placed to just be, boom, there. Yeah, you just stay down, make an empty space for me. Cool, cool. Alright, we have the Star Wars Darth Plagueis novel by James Luceno. Okay, I was told to read this because its descriptions of using the Force were a really well-described magic system. And the person who told me that is a dirty liar, because literally every time he uses the Force, it just says, and he used the Force. No, sorry, and he drew upon the Force. As positives for this book, it hits the Star Wars vibe. A person with magic powers gets to be badass with his laser sword and travel to all kinds of worlds that have interesting and unique world building to each one of them. All positives. On the downside, that well-described world building does not extend to actually describing the events that are happening. I should say I did not finish this. I got 1/3 of the way through and just stopped because I love myself too much. So in the part that I did read, there was at least 3 times where it simply failed to actually describe what happened. One of them was just like they're trying to hunt a shapeshifter, and he's like, and then he shot him and he couldn't shapeshift anymore. And because why? I don't know. Something wasn't explained. And there was like a couple other instances like that where they were like, oh, he uses his like secret knowledge of some sort of science to like do this cool thing, but we never explained that science or even like mentioned what it was. It was just he could do a thing all of a sudden, which kind of leads into the other major problem of this book, is that Darth Plagueis is a Mary Sue. Now, I don't throw that term around a lot. I know it is misused to dismiss any female character, but not a female character. I guess you could call him Gary Stu if you think like men doing things needs their own name, like bromances, man buns, and meggings. However, I don't generally ascribe to the idea that like men doing things needs its own name to be totally different and more manly. So yeah, he's a Mary Sue. I don't throw that around lightly. I know it's really often misused to dismiss things, but Darth Plagueis is basically the most powerful Force user in the universe and most awesome, and he never had to try to do any of it. Also the richest person in the universe, and just being like born richest person in the universe. And 3, he's also like the smartest person in the universe. Also, he's like the most influential political person in the universe. He basically owns everything. He can do anything with his money, or he can do anything with his Force powers. He also knows all the secret sciences nobody else knows. On and on and on and on and on. In the 1/3 of the book that I did read, he at no point actually encountered a single challenge. It's literally just a series of events going, and then he went here and he did this thing because he's so cool and awesome that he can do anything. And then he went somewhere else and he did this thing because he's so cool and awesome that he can do anything. And yeah, I guess my rant is finished. 2 stars. Did not finish. It did have some good parts to it but yeah. Automatic Millionaire by David Bach. Not to be confused with, I found like 3 other books with the exact same name by other people who were trying to, I guess, jump onto the bandwagon that this book was at some point. And that fact makes it difficult for me to rate this because I did not get much out of this book. Everything in there was either very obvious or was the same thing I've read in every finance advice book ever, or was very dated to the 90s and no longer applicable in today's economic world. So I didn't have a lot of good things to say, but I think that the reason that I already knew all of this is because every other source has copied all the good parts out of this. So that makes it hard to rate. And if I can find it in my notes, I can tell you what I actually did rate it. Oh, I did not give this thing a rating because I guess I thought it would be unfair to give it a poor rating when it probably was the trendsetter for all of this. But yeah, if you're trying to learn stuff in this topic, I feel like this is not the way to go. Get a more recent book. The basic gist of it is, yeah, save money, invest money, and have all of that done automatically by computers. Have that extra whatever percent deducted from your paycheck put into a 401k or into stock plans, ESPP stock plans. I guess that's repetitive because like the S and the P stand for stock plan. Yeah. Moving on. Write your first novel now. Book 4, Getting to Know Your Characters by Robbie Koo. I hope I pronounced that last name at all right. I should just look through my recent books. That's probably an easier way to find my most recently read books. So I gave this 4 stars. And pointing out this is a super slim book. Okay, if you are just starting out and you're like, what do I do? How words go on page, but what words? This series is probably a great start for you. This is very short, very succinct, very just like, here's the basics, go. That being said, I've read a million books like this, so I already knew everything. There was no surprises in this. Yeah, I guess if you want to do like huge extensive readings, this is not where you get to, as you could probably guess by how thin it is. But again, if you're just starting out, this is the book for you. Or this series is. I guess there's like 9 of these. Anyway, Reiki Fire by Frank Arajava Petter. This was not on my review list. This just snuck its way into my life at some point. New information about the origins of the Reiki power, a complete manual. All right, so my work in progress novel, the main protagonist is a healer, and I thought that this might help to like get the healing magic system down in my world, and it did not help. This book kind of has anything you would find on any random website about Reiki, and I mean, I guess it really is a practical guide, and not really like what I needed was descriptions of how they believe it works and what it feels like, how they think about practicing Reiki, and what this actually was a field manual of like, hold your hand in this position, doing this while, you know, thinking of this symbol and chanting this word. I don't think they actually chant, but that part I made up. But yeah, it was a very mechanistic view of a magical healing system, and that did not help me. Yeah, I'm not sure it's fair for me to give this a specific rating, because I'm obviously going for something that most readers would not be looking for, but there's my review. Joy at Work by Marie Kondo and some other guy, Scott Sonnenschein. I adore Marie Kondo so much, but this book didn't do it for me. I think I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. None of the advice really felt new, and a lot of it was very highly situational. If you're entirely new to like time management, life organization, getting things done, then this will probably have a few takeaways, but it's really not a heavy hitter in that field, which makes me sad. It also like kind of didn't really touch on the joy aspect of like having joy at your work. Didn't I like the power of Marie Kondo's method isn't that she has like a bunch of organizing tips. It's that it's about therapy through your physical environment and how you relate to it, and this just didn't quite have that magic. I'm sorry, Kamari-chan. How to be in glare. How to Be Invisible by J.J. Luna. So this is a book about, being like off the radar. People can't find your address. People can't stalk you. The government doesn't know how to get a hold of you, kind of stuff. It was interesting. I don't know if I want to live that way, but it was very interesting. And I'm sure this will be useful for some characters I write in the future, and or possibly the fascist hellscape that the world seems to be sliding into. Either way, I think I gave this 4-star, 5-star. Definitely not for everyone, but for what it does, it was a very good and very interesting ride. Note that it is rather dated. It has like advice on like satellite telephones and things like that. So you avoiding digital stalking is probably a much bigger thing today and not well covered in this. But 5-star. The Tingleverse Campaign Setting for the Void by Dr. Chuck Tingle. Multiple time Hugo Award nominated Dr. Chuck Tingle. All of Chuck Tingle's works are a delight, and the Tingleverse is the opposite of an exception to that. It is very delightful. It really brings back a lot of my childhood D&D feelings before I became the sort of adult who has to think about like how to maximize all the rules. And his works on the Void and the Tingleverse and the multiverse and multi-timeline nature of the multiverse are all super fascinating world building to me. I absolutely love it. If you are not familiar with Dr. Chuck Tingle, I don't know how to. Okay, someday I'm going to do more. I'm going to do like a whole thing on Chuck Tingle, and buckle up for that. It'll be a ride. Right. Last of the physical books is Symbolism by Norbert Wolf, part of the Taschen collection. Taschen? Part of a collection of books on art. So I impulse buyed this. Okay, we're at that stage. We're buyed this book. I English good. It is my one and my only language. I flunked all the other language classes. It's the only one I have, and I'm literally trying to be a writer and make a living off my words. Just gonna have an existential crisis here. Okay. So Symbolism. I bought this book. I impulse bought this book at Barnes & Noble because I had a dumb, and I was like, oh, symbolism. I love symbolism in my novels. I want to read about symbolism. And I didn't think that there's like other arts that also have symbolism. And this is a book about the painting movement of symbolists. And I don't know anything about painting. But now I do, because I read a book. And books are awesome and full of knowledge. So, I'm still not really an expert on art, but I like me the symbolist movement. It combines sort of the beauty of realistic art. I'm sorry to all the painters out there who are cringing at me, probably misusing or misdescribing terms, but for me, it combines the accuracy of realistic art forms with the imagery and mythology of more, I don't want to say surreal, that's also an art form, damn it, with fantastical imagery and stuff. Looking at this actually reminds me a lot of all of those like old D&D books at the pictures and paintings that they would, the pictures they would have inside, but those are more just like cool, and this is actually sort of meaningful in what it's trying to depict and how it depicts them. I love it very much. I gave it all the stars, four or five. I have not yet actually nailed down what makes a difference between a 4 and a 5. But it's somewhere around there, 4.5 stars. I'm definitely going to keep this on my shelf as a reference book. I don't keep a lot of books after I've read them. I liked it a lot. I would like it if there were more people who painted depictions of the underworld for me. I was a little put off by how much they do depictions of, I think it was Salome, one of the biblical femme fatales. Yeah, there was a lot of depictions of like femme fatales as this ultimate seductive evil because there's a boob exposed. You know that it's evil because it has boobs. But on the positive side, there was this awesome painting, The Temptation of St. Anthony by Felicion Ropes, also called Pornocrates, the awesomest nickname I have ever seen. Hopefully I will make that picture appear somewhere over here. Actually, no, I probably won't make that picture appear because it is... That would get... I'll see if I can blur out the boobs of evil. The boobs of doom. To explain what kind of you might be seeing in this painting, so The Temptation of St. Anthony is a myth from the Bible about St. Anthony who goes in the desert and he's tempted by all sorts of evils. And then modern painters have depicted what those evils are, usually them being boobs of doom. However, this artist was like, kind of flips that on its head and chose the awesome power of nudity and female sexuality as a positive force, directly equating it to Jesus. And St. Anthony is kind of like a weird, wretched, dirty old man who's just cannot stand the boob. Now let's move on to the non-physical books that I read. There was FFF Class Trash Hero. This is a manga about a kid who is teleported off to a fantasy world to be the chosen hero. And it starts with him like finishing his 10-year quest and finally slaying the evil demon lord who plagues the land. Basically finding out that he has been acting like the sociopath that most people play as in MMORPG games. And basically getting demoted back to the beginning of the game because he did not learn how to actually act like a hero. The story follows him continuing to min-max his character and try to cheat and rig the game so that he can win and have the highest score, even though completely missing the point that he's supposed to actually like learn how to be a good person there. I thought it was delightful. Nothing mind-blowing as a story, but it was a lot of fun. And no, actually, maybe it did actually make me think about how we try to go through life and what our priorities and what we consider as successes. So yeah, 5 star. I'll give it 5 star. All right, I also read the Planescape campaign setting from 2nd edition Dungeons & Dragons. Planescape is, I think I mentioned earlier, or in previous videos, that I love reading the old 2nd edition, 1st edition D&D books. There's just like rich world building and a lot of, I guess, like there was a fascinating amount of imagination before people started trying to make sense out of everything. And the Planescape setting is possibly the most imaginative of a campaign setting. It's a world where beliefs are reality, where nothing really has to make sense. It's a world ruled by like a number of factions all based around a philosophy, which for the most part I love. Like they actually built a world around like heavy concept philosophies as a main component of what people are going to be fighting over. I think of any story I've read where they tried to go heavy-handed philosophy and just clobber you with it. This is the only thing I've seen that really did it at all close to well. And of course, if you've played the old video game Planescape Torment, you know what I'm talking about. Back when people were having the ridiculous discussion about whether games could be art, which I somehow can't believe people are stupid enough to say can't, but also like I'm living in 2020, so I can believe people have lots of stupid stuff. Yeah, that was one of the go-to games they always pulled out, and it for a large part because of this setting. Oh, the setting also has this wonderful dialect, which apparently is taken from 15th century thieves' cant, English thieves' cant. Someday in the future, I want to have a whole thing on creating fictional slang, but that day is not today because that will require research. And that is, I'm gonna put the Most Dangerous book back up. Highly recommend it. Turns into an actual working bow. That is everything that I have read since my last thing. My future TBR is to finish the other half of the TBR that I haven't gotten to. Plus, I will be adding several of the Redwall books, 2 of which are not here right now because they're still in the mail. I was hoping to hold them all up, but I'll hold 2 that I'm not reading up. There. So I've joined the Redwall Readathon this month, and we will be reading Redwall, Matameo, and Martin the Warrior. I forgot the one that was in my hand. If you'd also like to read them, have them on your shelf, come join us. It lasts for September. I'll put links below. And please like and subscribe and validate my existence. I'm Annie Johnson. I talk about books. I read books. I write books, although that last one's not really a YouTube thing. Ending thing. Blah. Don't really have a art shelf, but this will fit into my sort of fantasy reference, and my sloth will get a little bit more cramped. Okay, RPG books do not have a shelf yet because we are not fully organized in this new house yet, but there we go. How to be invisible will go on with my generic how to do random stuff books. Joy at work, even though I did not particularly love it, I do want to have the complete KonMari. So there we go. You to there. And the last of these go to the used bookstore.